Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. This is Moon. So for this video I wanted to give a proper introduction to my channel and what kind of videos I'll be posting. I'm really interested in artist motivation and putting in feelings into your pieces, so that's something I want to talk about a lot, like art block or just the mental struggles that go into creating art, whether it's commissions or just coming up with new ideas. But I also want to do some tutorials for anyone who's interested. I usually use Photoshop, but recently I've started getting into Procreate, so I'll make some tutorials on that kind of stuff. I also do a little bit of 3D, so that could be in the future as well. So thank you for coming and stick around. So I've been doing art since I was very little, but I did take a big break around high school. So I moved away from where I was at the time, and when I got to high school, I didn't have a lot of art friends there anymore, and nobody really watched anime, and that's what I was drawing all the time. So I just took a big break, and I didn't really create very much. I did little doodles in the textbook, as one does sometimes, but I didn't create any big pieces or anything like that. And I thought maybe I'd be a hairdresser, so that was a career path that I was considering for a while. I did decide on doing animation in college, but it was unexpected. Like, I thought we were going to do more 2D kind of stuff, but it ended up being a lot of 3D, and I didn't end up drawing that much. I had a lot of valuable skills from that, but after I graduated from college and finally regained my motivation again, that's when I started feeling that passion for drawing again and started getting into doing some commissions for the first time. So I've been doing this digital art for about 2 years now, and it was a really big change for me because I had done traditional media. I used watercolor pencils, and I've done oil painting and watercolor painting as well. So going into digital was so frustrating and really just so difficult for me. I didn't think that I would be able to do it, but after 2 years, I finally have adjusted to using Photoshop and all the different tools that they have. I think Procreate is a lot easier for people who are new to digital art, but Photoshop just has so many features that I ended up just leaning towards it a bit more. There really is a big difference between using traditional and digital, but the skills that you have from traditional definitely carry over. So if you are considering using digital, I highly recommend just pushing through that learning curve and getting through it, because it's worth it in the end. There's an undo button. You can change the colors whenever you like. There's the lasso tool. There's so many things I love about using Photoshop or just digital programs in general. And I'm really glad that I started finally using them, because now I can do commissions and I can send the pieces online. And it's also motivated me to try to start opening my own shop. I'm trying to figure out how to get stickers printed and things like that still, but that's one of my goals for this year. Another reason that I wanted to start this channel was to kind of get myself a little bit more motivated into doing personal projects again. I've been doing commissions for a few years now, well, 2 years, and it just doesn't have the same feeling as it used to when I was young and I would watch, TV shows and draw my favorite characters. So I want to try to bring back that passion that I had for creating things that are for me and things that I want to create. And I think that's the dream of most artists, is to create things that you love. But it's good to not forget that goal. It's not just about creating, it's about creating something meaningful. And I think the most interesting and inspirational pieces are ones that are made with emotion and ones that are made with passion and feeling. It doesn't just have to be, joy or happiness. It could be sadness or it can be anger, but just to express these feelings through the medium of art is the reason why it's such a good medium. It's something that people can express themselves with that transcends words. And that's why there's so many different types of mediums. That's why there is traditional, and there's digital, and there's 3D, and there's, acrylics and watercolor and nail art and even dance or interpretive dance. There's so many different ways that people want to express themselves, and I think it's just a part of human nature. I think every person is meant to do some kind of creating or some kind of way to express themselves besides words, because not everything we want to say can be said through just our language. And if there's anything that I can do for you by you watching these videos, it's hopefully that I can help you connect with yourself a little bit more and connect with your work, or maybe find some inspiration at least into creating your own pieces, whether it's video editing or actually painting or whatever you're interested in. I really just love motivating other people to follow their dreams, no matter what kind of dream it is, and helping them reach their goals. The type of art that I usually like to do is fantasy style, so that can be environments or the characters. I really love medieval types of characters and like dragons and knights and elves and things like that. I also really love Studio Ghibli because they create these really fantastical worlds, and they bring in this feeling of nostalgia almost and longing in their movies. I want to create that kind of feeling within my pieces too. So I wanted to talk about this piece in the background just quickly. It was a client piece, and I've done a lot of environments for this client, but this one in particular I had a really good time with doing, and I just felt so absorbed with it, and I really enjoyed creating all the textures and everything, and that kind of inspired me to make this video in the first place, because I finally felt like I had some like emotional connection with the piece again. It's more of a simple design technically, but I feel like I put some more interesting brush strokes into it, and it just gave it a lot more life with the colors. Recently, I've been having a lot of trouble connecting with my art and feeling like it's really coming from a place of feeling and passion. And with this channel, I want to do more personal pieces and create things that really make me feel like I'm connected to it and that I'm expressing a lot of deep emotions. I think when you paint traditionally, there's a lot of feeling that goes into every stroke because it's all up to chance and you kind of play off of what happens. But when you're doing digital, there are no mistakes because you can always go back. And I use a lot of photo bashing, and that does take away a lot of the like individuality of doing it all by hand. Of course, it takes so much longer to paint everything by hand, but when you photo bash, it's kind of like taking away some of the expressive brush strokes that you can create. There's some people that are really good with photo bashing and they just can put so much into it, but for me personally, I feel like there's more expression and more value in it when I do more of the painting myself. That's an issue I have when creating my own pieces. I always take so long to finish a piece. I just want to go into all the tiny little details. My art teachers, they said things like, look at the whole picture first, try to get down the big shapes and everything. And it's really important to kind of remind myself to do that, because I'll end up spending 20 hours on a piece and it's half finished because I'm working like only on the eyes of the character, or maybe I'm like stuck on one detail. So it's important to just sometimes let go and remember that the piece is an entire piece together and it's not just that one little detail that you're working on. Staying zoomed out is really helpful for that, and for this piece specifically, I think I did a lot more of that. I stayed kind of zoomed out and tried to take in the whole feeling of the piece instead of getting in on the details. I did do the details in the front for the texture of the sand, so I think that's really important, but it's okay to let the details kind of fade into the back and let it be more expressive as it goes into the distance, because it's not in focus. And if you're putting detail into the entire piece, of course it's going to end up taking a lot longer than it could if you just, didn't focus on the things that you can't see anyways, because nobody's going to be looking at your piece like, super zoomed in, like pixel by pixel. Nobody's doing that. So it's okay to just let some of it go. I think I have a really good time management when it comes to client pieces. I'll definitely get them done like as soon as I say I will for the clients, but when it's my own piece, I have no time limit and no restrictions and no boundaries. I just like let go and I endlessly paint for hours on end, and I can't stop, and I'll get into all those little details because I'm not putting any constraints on myself. So that is an issue with creating my own pieces. I end up not finishing anything. So in that way, I'm really grateful that I have had a chance to do commissions because it has showed me that I am actually capable of completing a piece within, a few days instead of a few weeks. But I want to find a happy medium where I can do my personal pieces and finish them in a sense to the point where I'm content with it, but it's also not taking, months on end. One thing that really helps speed up the process for me when painting something is having my brushes ready. Like a month ago, I don't know what happened to Photoshop, but all of my custom brushes just got deleted, so I had to try to remake some of them. It's kind of slowed down the process for me a little bit. I think cloud brushes are kind of easy to create, but I had like the perfect grainy texture for my work. That's just like the style that I like to do, and I lost it, so it's been kind of tough for me. But there are so many resources online, like a lot of people are giving away free brushes or free brush sets, and some people, they'll have paid brush sets too with some really cool things that you can add in there that really helps speed up the process for me for my photo bashing pieces. But I'm still in search of the perfect brush to create that texture that I had before. But it's okay if I can find something new, something that works a little bit differently. Maybe it'll change the way that I work, or maybe it'll make it a little bit better. So I have some ideas planned out for some future videos. So I'm thinking of doing one that's talking about like why you should get into digital painting, and because I think it's for everybody. Anybody can do it, especially if you're using, one of the more basic programs that doesn't have like a crazy bunch of features. I think anybody can do it, and I really want to motivate people to start getting into digital art. So that's one idea. And I also have another one where I want to explain my hair texturing kind of process. I feel like I'm just really good with doing hair texture, so I want to kind of explain what brushes I use and things like that. And for my environments too, I can do a little color theory. I want to talk about like shape language and composition and how I use my layers and things like that. I'm particularly interested in doing portraits too, so I want to do an in-depth tutorial for one of the portraits that I've created recently and like fantasy aspects. Another big thing that I'd like to include is, concept art. I've just started, going into YouTube more and finding creators that are talking about their experience working in the industry and how concept art is really different than illustration, and my experience with trying to create both of those types of pieces. I had this big project in college where I got to kind of choose what I wanted to do. So I decided that I wanted to create 3 concept pieces for characters and 1 environment concept. And then all of those would go into illustrations. So I'd have 3 character illustrations and 1 environment illustration. And it was a really good experience for me. It helped me see like how the pipeline really works and how fast I can do everything. And if you put more time into the concept, it ends up making the final piece look a lot better. I'd love to go a lot deeper into some of these topics in future videos. So if you're interested, feel free to leave a comment below. And thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.